the KMNN studios, this is the Kids Morning News Network.
Good morning, everyone. It's June 7th, 2024, and I'm Alex in the KMNN studio in New York. We have a really cool interview this morning, and you'll hear how you might win a trip to a space launch. But first, today is National Donut Day and National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. I think we can start a new holiday that celebrates both of them. The most amazing ice cream sandwich ever day.
10, 9, 8, 7.
We have a lot of outer space to talk about this morning, and first, I am very happy to report that the Starliner spacecraft, which faced several delays over the past few weeks on the launch pad, finally blasted off on Wednesday for the first time carrying a crew of astronauts. Starliner can fly itself, but the crew took control yesterday for the docking with the ISS just to test things out. And there was a little problem. Some of the thrusters that moved Starliner around didn't work. Fortunately, the crew was able to get most of them working again, and they safely docked with the ISS yesterday. Starliner astronauts will stay there for a week or so before they head home. This morning, I am very excited to be speaking with Sharon Hagle. She is the founder and CEO of SpaceKids Global, which inspires kids to excel in STEAM plus education. And that's science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, plus environment. SpaceKids Global also introduces kids to the space industry, and she has herself flown to space. Sharon, welcome to the Kids Morning News Network.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about SpaceKids Global. What do you do, and what kind of programs do you offer for kids?
Well, I started SpaceKids Global almost 10 years ago, but my passion is doing just this, talking to kids across the country and getting them excited about living off planet.
What is it that makes space so interesting?
I think for kids, what makes space so interesting is that it's new. It's never been discovered, and people are coming up with new discoveries all the time. And one of the things that kids like to do is use their imagination so they can imagine what it's going to be like living off planet. They can imagine what it is to be piloting a spaceship. But what Space Kids wants to do is make learning fun again. We want kids to be participators, not spectators. So how do you do that? Well, we do hands-on projects. You know what? Last year we sent 21 science projects to the ISS. We've had essay competitions with our partners with Zero G. We're two of the winners. I think the essay was Why I Want to Go to Space. They got to go on a zero gravity flight and fly like an astronaut, experience zero gravity. We're taking Title I schools over to Kennedy Space Center, the visitor complex. We're working with different companies, and particularly what we're doing right now, the Press Squad. That's pretty cool, where kids can be space reporters.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about that? I was reading about the Press Squad. It sounds amazing.
Well, we have announced that Mark and I are going back to space. And because each astronaut is allowed guests, normally they bring family and friends. We decided that we would open up this contest. It's a drawing for 8 kids plus their guardian or parent from the U.S. They have to be a U.S. student. We'll have a drawing where these 8 kids will be able to come out and hopefully watch our launch if the launch stays on schedule. But they will have a 2-day all-expense-paid vacation adventure at Kennedy Space Center, where Blue Origin will welcome them to their rocket facility. They will be at mission control with Blue Origin. They'll be inside the mission control center. They'll have their desks, they'll be watching the big screens, they'll have a live feed to our launch out in Van Horn, Texas, and then they'll be able to interview us after we come back to Earth. They'll even have a behind the scenes tour where the new Glenn is being assembled. I mean, it's pretty exciting. And hopefully we'll be able to arrange for a live journalist to come over and teach them how do you interview somebody on camera. Because if you well know, Alex, you've got to get them engaged.
I think a lot of people think of space and careers, they think of astronauts, but one thing that I noticed on your Space Kids Global website is that it's not just astronauts, there's a whole industry around space.
That's correct. And, I think what Space Kids is trying to do is help kids enter and be exposed to some of these new careers in the space industry. Our mission is to get elementary school kids excited about STEAM education, but ensuring the girls are equally represented. Did you know when we flew back in March 2022, I became the 599th person to cross over the Kármán line, the universal line where it's considered that you cross over into space, and that's 62 miles. And more importantly, I was the 74th woman to cross over the Kármán line. We need to get the girls engaged too. Space is for everyone.
You flew on Blue Origin's New Shepard, and what was that like? What was being on top of a rocket and going to space like?
Well, it's very difficult to use your imagination and think about that, even though I know kids have a great imagination. But literally, there are no words to describe it because it's so different from the photographs that you see when you're looking back on Earth. But to give you a little insight and a peek about what it's really like, as we're walking up the tower, the helicopters are going, the drones are going. I've got a camera in my face because I was the only female on this particular cruise. And once we were buckled in, and I tell the kids it takes training 3.5 days to learn how to buckle a seatbelt. It's different in space. You can't sit in a chair like you can on Earth because you'll end up on the other side of the capsule. So after we're harnessed in and you're getting that countdown, and all of a sudden you hear this roaring of the engines, and then your seat starts to rumble and the ceiling turns bright red, which, by the way, they tell us in training, that's just a reflection of the engines. And then slowly you start to lift off and you see the ground slowly dropping away. And then you start seeing those G-forces. And all of a sudden, the Earth is gone and the sky turns from blue to light blue to pitch black. It's amazing. Your adrenaline is so high and it's very difficult to stay in the moment because it's so exciting. I mean, you're part of the early exploration in space, and we're so grateful for that opportunity.
And what was it like when you got into space and there was no gravity? Can you describe to me what that felt like?
I think we were just so excited to be there. We just hung out by the window to look back at Earth. And when you see how fragile our planet is and how thin that atmosphere, it takes your breath away. There's still triggers that we all get kind of choked up about because it is such a remarkable view of our planet. It changes you. And by that, I mean it changes you that you want to come back to Earth and make it better. And when we speak to kids, we always tell them, while we're speaking, I want you to think about what is your mission? What can you do to make a difference in the world? And how can you make the world a better place? And I think if every human being on this planet had those thoughts, the world would be definitely different.
If you want to learn more from Sharon Hagle, turn into the Kids Morning News Network YouTube channel next week. I'm going to have a special, longer interview with her. She'll talk about how she trained for space and show us the actual flight suit she wore aboard the spacecraft. That's going to be next week on the Kids Morning News Network YouTube channel. I'll let you know when it's posted. And if you're between the ages of 8 and 12 and you're here in the U.S., don't forget to enter the SpaceKids Press Squad contest at spacekids.global. You have until next Friday to enter. Time for the riddle. Wednesday's riddle was, I am an odd number. Take away a letter and I become even. What number am I? The number is 7. So if you take the S off, it's even. Today's riddle, I grow when you feed me, but I shrink when you water me. What am I? I grow when you feed me, but I shrink when you water me. Answer on Monday. In today's weather, you can expect the heat to continue in the southwest. Please be careful if that's where you are. Make sure you drink enough water. And P.S. soda does not count as water. Down in Florida and here in the Northeast, look for rain, but most of the country will be under sunny skies. Well, that's the show. Thank you very much for listening. A huge thank you again to Sharon Hagle. There's a link to the SpaceKids Press Squad contest in the episode description. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the Kids Morning News Network. That is so important for a little podcast like this one. And grown-ups, I could use your help. If you'd like to become a supporter, there is a link in the episode description. No pressure, but even $3 a month would help with production costs. It's only about 30 cents per podcast. Hopefully you think it's worth it. I'll be back on Monday. I hope you are too. Have a great weekend. From the KMNN Newsroom, this is Alex, signing off.